through?
Yeah. In front of him then, Dad.
Right.
Right by him.
And now into the arena she comes. Guns like this were used extensively, as I said, by British and Commonwealth forces in all theatres of the Second World War, and of course especially in Normandy in 1944, where they provided a support role. Do with just the one, she certainly makes quite an explosive display, as you'll be seeing in a few short moments. And finally here is Davin Winch, the chairman of the World War II display team. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand you over to him and he'll run you through this next portion of the display.
So whenever you see any of our people, instead of wearing what you might recognise as the standard artillery cap badge, you'll always notice they're wearing an acorn and oak leaves, hence our nickname, the Acorn Gunners. And we're very proud of our cap badge because the South Notts Hussars are still going today, and we had an inspection from them and we have permission to actually portray their 2nd Regiment during World War II, the 150th. So that's the regiment. So what have we got running around the field here in front of us now? Well, this is the standard field artillery piece of World War II. The vehicle is a Morris Commercial C8 Mark III box trailer, the Limber. Artillery trailer number 27 would take 32 rounds. The cartridges were separate from the shells, and they would be made up out of 3 different charges, 1, 2 and 3, very patriotically coloured red, white and blue. The shells would have been armour piercing, high explosive or smoke. We also know that should war have turned really nasty, there were plans for the 25 pounder to fire chemical. Fortunately, it never came to that. Then behind that, we have the 25 pounder, the gun to be, and where he knows some visible landmark to be. And it could literally be something as simple as the buildings directly behind the gun here. And you could actually lay it from there and drop the projectile in exactly the right place. The other way.
117, right, 6,000, angle of sight, 41 degree, charge 3, fire by order.
Now, we've got the order for 1 round ranging. We're actually going to be firing 4 on this display, because we've got lots of room here and English Heritage and let me do it. So you're going to get 1 round, and then we're going to change it slightly, and then we'll fire another 3 rounds. What you're actually seeing here is the gun position officer would be getting information from the observation post, which would be ahead of the gun. It could actually be in the area where we're trying to drop shells. It could actually be behind German lines. And the OP would be feeding this information back to the command post, where the gun position officer would be using the plotting table to lay the targets, work out all the trigonometry required to fire this gun. You have to remember the gun position officer here would have 4 guns under his control, and he would be talking to them via tannoy. So this is very simulated. Number 1 has got his hand up to let the GPO know that his gun position is ready to fire, and the gun position officer may wait for all 4 guns to be ready to fire. Now if you've got a static camera, and you haven't got one of these nice flash modern video cameras, if you want to take a picture, the time to press the button is when the number 1's arm drops, because that's when he's giving the order. What happens is the gun is under the sole control of the number 1, who's usually a sergeant. The officers have no direct control. They have control of the number 1, not of the gun. He has control of the gun because he knows the position of it. All the men come directly under his command. So all the officers coming from the command post, the GPO, are relayed to the number 1, not to the gun crew itself. The number 1 will then relay it to the gun crew or check if he's got any queries or concerns. So we'll go through our 1 round ranging.
One gun, fire! Fire!
Oh, she's a bit quiet here today. Now,
Increment 2 degrees, volley barrel. 3 rounds, fire in your own time. Number 1 gun, 3 rounds.
now we should get 3 rounds. After the GPO gives the order to fire, you will then see that the 3 rounds will be fired off in quick succession, hopefully. Obviously in today's modern society we have to be a bit careful. We aren't as expendable as they were in 1944. So we do try to do this a bit safely. But we should now get 3 rounds fairly rapid. Now again, you have to remember there would be at least 4 in this area under command of this gun position officer, and there would be more troops run out of orders. We're told it's 3 rounds, they're fire 3 rounds. We could give the order to stop loading. If we give the order to stop loading, if there's one in the...
Where are we going in? Just down here by the big tree, at the end of the line.
And the crew on here say are airborne, the reconnaissance squadron, who travel both by parachute and by glider. Here we are first of all. The vehicle mounted on the Jeep is a Vickers K, which actually was originally designed as the rear gun on an aircraft, Hampshire Regiment, and now you can see the difference between infantry and airborne troops. Forget the red beret, the most particular difference is that the airborne troops are wearing a jump smock, the camouflage Denison smock, and this is a nice rifle. This is actually just about the best bolt-action rifle ever 303. So the rifleman, please turn to your right and rapid fire, please. You'll notice the bolt action is very, very quick on here. Thank you, rifleman. Thank you, rifleman, that will do. The people, they needed something suitable. Also something light for airborne troops to get lots of firepower without too much weight. The answer was the Sten gun. This takes the 9mm, this is I think a number 5, as issued to airborne troops. No, number 2. I'm sure he was saying it was number 2. He couldn't have meant anything else, could he? As a 9mm, exactly the same as the Germans and indeed everybody else's. Apart from the Americans, of course, tracked up by 45. So here we are, the Sten gun. They are firing from a side-loading magazine, 30 rounds. But if you load 30, it doesn't feed properly. You usually put about 26, 27 in. The film's the Bren gun. the Bren in fact is a Czech design. The name Bren comes from the Czech town where it was, the factory where it was made, Brno and Enfield. So Brno, a standard section light machine gun, 303 caliber, the same rounds as the Enfield rifle. Note the rate of fire. An extremely accurate weapon. It was said, in fact, that they had to actually loosen all the fittings on them because they tended to fire all the rounds into the same place. Now, if you fire the machine gun, that doesn't happen however accurate it is. The vibration alone will make the rounds go different places. But principally, there were one or two exceptions, basically by the Germans as part of the Blitzkrieg programme. The idea is armoured infantry. The concept of Blitzkrieg is such that the infantry has to keep up with the tanks. It's no good tanks going forward. Tanks can't hold ground. And tanks in towns are very easy to take out indeed. So the infantry need to stay with the tanks. If they're going to stay with the tanks at the points of assault, they need armoured protection. And that's where the armoured half-track comes in. This is a General Motors half-track. Mounting a 50 cal machine gun and pushing with all sorts of other kit. As you can see, basically it has the wheels at the front which do the bulk of the steering and the tracks. The American one actually has rubber tracks, so it can be used on road. And now we're seeing a tactical deployment on the move. And remember, moving targets are harder target to hit. Although it's armoured, it's fairly lightly armoured by tank standards, and therefore any German anti-tank gun, or indeed German tank that's around, is going to make a hold of this pretty fast. So if you can deploy on the move, you're much, much safer.
Some very suspicious looking characters to our front. Stand ready,
The
hold
weapons,
fire.
note the sergeant, the weapons they're all using, in fact, is the... I will ask the police to deploy and fire to their right.
Grand demonstration. Fire to your right. Yes.
First World War, it was largely replaced with the M1 Garand by the time of World War II. The Springfield, in fact, is rather like the German Mauser, is a 5-round bolt-action magazine. Long bolt. Following Hungerford, all of the self-loading rifles, of course, had to go, and we can't hold those anymore. On Section 1, all we can hold is actually a bolt action, so manually operated. So you'll have to imagine how it would be if it was firing on the full semi-automatic, but here we have to have it operated by hand. Nevertheless, here goes with the Garand, the M1. Has 8 rounds. Watch what happens after number 8. There we go. Did you all see the clip come out? It used to... Nice piece of kit, quite reliable. There you are, the General Motors half-track. The other one over there, in fact, I think is an international half-track, which is ever so slightly different. So we have an applause, please, for the good old GIs, the dog faces. A half-track, the Hanomag 251D of about 1944 vintage, manufactured totally in the Skoda works in Czechoslovakia. The Germans used extensive production in the Skoda works, and in fact the tank they inherited from the Czechs in 1938 was actually rather better than anything the Germans themselves had. Much sexier than the American one, isn't it? And you'll note again the sloping armour. The idea of sloping armour is that more rounds will probably bounce off sloping armour than upright. Here we are, now we'll show you how this operates. Now we'll start off with the good old rifleman. Again, if you want to see a K98 rifle, 5 rounds bolt action, loaded on a clip as you see now. 7.92 calibre, which is quite similar to in fact to 303. Nicely balanced rifle, nice to carry, nice to fire, but 5 rounds to go into the assault isn't enough. It's also a very long and quite slow bolt action compared with the Enfield. And in fact, this is a really, really smooth one. It's quite hard to operate the bolt in the shoulder position. You nearly always have to bring it down to the hip. Submachine gun. This is the MP40, the one you see in all the movies, the one you sometimes hear referred to as a Schmeisser in the books. Forget Schmeisser, nothing to do with it. This is the MP40, 9mm Parabellum, fully automatic. Please God. You'll notice that one discharges from the top again, under current regulations we can't have them discharging through the barrel. So there we are, the MP40. With the assault rifle, you're also in the famous AK-47 as used by the Russians and every terrorist ever since. This in fact predates it. This is the assault rifle, the MP44. This fires a 7.92 short round, the same round basically as the Mauser rifle, but short round, and can fire on semi-auto or full auto, and please God, we'll show you both right now, please. And that is a weapon that instantly made everything else on the battlefield obsolete. The assault rifle, the MP44. In fact, probably still better than the British Army is serving with at the moment. And now we'll show you the famous machine gun, which is actually mounted on the half-track. This is the MG42. Again, you hear referred to in the books as the Spandau. That means nothing much either. Spandau is a district of Berlin that happened to have an armory in it. This is the MG42. They are a little bit touchy on blank ammunition, and sometimes they don't go quite as right as we'd like. If it does work right, listen to the rate. Despite what you're seeing at the moment, in fact, this is the weapon, again, which all... the feed mechanism is actually copied straight into the American M60.
This is the actual battle abbey. Right on!
So I've already seen a photo, it's in the other video. Is this bit already or not?
Huh?
You been around this bit already?
Yeah. This is where Harold actually did his last stand at the top here.
It's impressive in here, isn't it?
I'd like the ceilings in here.
Good. Where is it you went?
At the top.
Oh, that way, that.
Done. It's the original crypt. The abbey. Got it. There's one of the walls defending the town. We'll fall down there.
Okay, test fire.
Comes the American Armoured Column.
That's fine, it's cavalry.
History Association to run you through this section of the display.
Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. There we are. There goes the... I told you it was a Skoda, didn't I? There you are. Actually, the starter motor is playing up. And if they can get it fixed, we'll have it running again. If not, we may have a problem, but they'll be doing their best. Now, meanwhile, here's the American, the M8 armoured car, designed and built, I think, by Panhard, but I could be wrong on that one. The main gun is a 37mm, which is equivalent of a 2-pounder, capable of firing only solid armour piercing shots. Nobody made an explosive shell that would go for high explosive in such a small gun. And the machine good ground pressure, which means it can go over most forms of ground. Very good, very reliable, used in large numbers by the Americans and also by the Polish forces from 1944. And the trouble with the 37mm or 2-pounder gun is that by this stage of the war, by 1944, it was effectively obsolete. It wouldn't penetrate the armour of any of the heavier German vehicles. As I say, a solid shot, you can't really fire for effect. With a solid shot, if you hit it, you destroy it. If you miss it, it doesn't really make a lot of difference. High explosive, you've only got to get close. But from a reconnaissance point of view, dealing with blocks and that sort of thing, and as a get-out-of-trouble firepower, that and the 50 cal and the 30 cal is quite effective. So armoured cars used by all forces for reconnaissance. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen, the American M8. Rival comment between the assorted crews, as you might expect. Now
That's
here we
mate
are,
in the
D5.
turret.
This is the American Stuart tank, also known as the Honey. This is very much a light tank. It was originally brought in and issued to British forces, and it saw some service in the desert. But again, it only has that 2-pounder 37mm gun. But again, only solid shot, only armour piercing. And again, by this stage of the war, 1944, it wouldn't penetrate any of the armour other than the absolute point-blank range on any of the German tanks. And therefore, as a main battle tank, it was obsolete almost as soon as it saw service. However, as a tank, it is well armoured. It does have a turret, it does have a firing gun and a machine gun, and therefore it is very effective as a reconnaissance vehicle. And the British Armoured Corps used them extensively in Normandy as for that purpose. But basically, as soon as it encountered the enemy, it bugged out fast and reported back if it could. But it only has the same gun. And of course, the tank will go in places where a weird vehicle won't. And like all American tanks, it's fairly reliable and moderately fast. So there we are, crowd killer. Now this we think might well be from the southern states of the United States. We think he might be going to engage the German half-track. Half-track, and an equally small neat round hole on the other side of the half-track. But if it didn't hit anything in the middle, that's all it would do. So maybe they've improved the ventilation, maybe they've hurt somebody. If your main job is to have a tracked vehicle that will take a anti-tank gun, then maybe you don't have to have a turret. Now, the Germans earlier had a self-propelled gun called the ww2, which was very effective and tried high explosives. So this, in fact, is a compromise. So using the principle of the ww2 and taking the Czech, I think 1938 chassis from Skoda, you mount basically what is an armoured cupola. And so the gun is mounted with a limited traverse, 20-30 degrees of traverse left and right, and a normal amount of up and down. You'll notice it has sloping armour. Again, this is to deflect shots. A shot is less likely to penetrate and more likely to bounce off if it hits a slope than a flat surface. And the gun in there is the 75mm Pak 39. Very effective anti-tank weapon, would penetrate any of the Allied tanks at a fair distance. And of course, as you haven't got to go to all the trouble of manufacturing and fitting a turret with all the gearing and engineering required on that, you can produce these far faster and much more quickly than you can tanks. And when you're needing to stem the onslaught of the Red Army on the Eastern Front, anything that can mount an anti-tank gun and is mobile and effective, this is what you want. So this basically is a poor man's tank. It's a tank destroyer. It's called a Hetzer. Interestingly, the German Hetzer means baiter. That's to say, it baits the enemy. It's an irritant. And in fact, this vehicle was used recently in the film Captain Corelli's Mandolin, which you may have seen was filmed in the Greek islands. The other thing you may notice, in fact, is that the only hatches are on the top. And Czech T-38 chassis.
Don't take it. Bring it here.
The whole idea is to break up the outline and blend it into a background. This was only as a tank destroyer, this weapon was only effective when it was hidden. A good tank, but literally the gun was not up to the job. The only way you could actually take out a German tank was to get very close to it alongside or get behind it. So the answer, of course, is to fit a bigger gun. Now, once you try and fit a bigger gun, of course, you've now got a bigger breech, and you simply couldn't fit that into the standard Sherman turret. The British, in fact, fitted the well-known British 17-pounder, which would fit into the turret with some restrictions, and that was called the Sherman Firefly. The Americans decided to up-gun. The most up-to-date one, the one that literally ran the course of the war. So basically up to the turret it's a Sherman tank, and above the turret it's all new. Just talking about, of course, the chassis where the engine is, of course, is pretty much standard Sherman. And the Sherman actually was famous for brewing up. The Germans called them Tommy Cookers. The Americans and British called them Ronsons on the basis of the old Ronson advertising tagline from the time of Light's first time. That's mainly because it has a petrol engine. And a high velocity anti-tank going in any road through. The Sherman or the Ronson or the Tommy Cooker was very, very famous for brewing up. Mounted above the 90mm, of course, again for area defence. Else, because coming from your left front is a Kugelwagen, which I can see from here contains an officer. The Kugelwagen, that's German for bucket car, by the way. The Kugelwagen is the military version of the Volkswagen Beetle. It's the same chassis, same engine. There's one or two refinements as far as the air filter is concerned, but essentially the same basic chassis. And on top of that goes the new bodywork of the open-top Kugelwagen. Unlike the Jeep, it's only two-wheel drive, it's rear-wheel drive, but it's a fairly usable vehicle, fairly light, so it gets through most situations. The officer, in fact, is an Oberleutnant, which is a full lieutenant, and we're pretty sure that for a lieutenant's rank at this age is actually a battlefield promotion. So this fellow hasn't come out of the German equivalent of Sandhurst. This is not a Rupert, this is somebody who's actually come up through the ranks and been promoted on his ability. He's an ugly brute, mind you. Horst Dudman, Oberleutnant. We've got everything, so their job is basically to find where are the Krauts. If they can identify them, so much the better. Of course, Jeeps are nice and light manoeuvrable vehicles. Being four-wheel drive, they can go almost anywhere. Now the Germans have got nicely into cover. They probably have spotted them. You'll notice the the Jeep observer now with binoculars looking to check that tree line. This is something they learned in the Bocage country. You check the MG42 is working. That vehicle's enactment. Now the American half-track has obviously seen that they're in trouble, and of course he's armoured. Nothing heavier than machine gun fire is coming out, so he's coming forward, using his armour and his own heavy-mounted machine gun to try and keep the German heads down. His mission probably now one is to radio back what he's seen and what they're engaging with. Also to rescue the boys with jeeps. Those jeeps are going to come out of there under machine gun fire. Because the Germans are not really trying to engage the half-track with his armour at this stage. They're going to try and knock those jeeps out. So one jeep is hit, and it looks like the others have gone along with to give him some support. You'll notice now the half-track is coming forward. And he's probably trying to screen them from the German machine gun fire. Coming forward fairly quickly, and somebody in that vehicle is pushing that tree line like a hawk. And they've got no idea what's behind them at all. So they're coming forward very carefully. There's one or two who have got fairly exotic helmet camouflage. One thing I noticed about the Germans is they're, for the most part, wearing ankle boots and gaiters rather than the more famous jack boots. This is because by 1904 to actually equip every soldier with the full-length jack boots. And so they essentially copied the British pattern of having ankle boots and gaiters. The only difference essentially is that the German boots don't have toe caps. And the German soldiers themselves called them retreat gaiters. Basically, up until the time they were issued, they'd been advancing. As the tide of the war turned, they began to get pushed back just the time the gaiters came along, so they tended to associate. And the other lot here are giving them more cover. In fact, there's the officer again, so obviously he's rounded up some more and brought them back to the tree line now. We've got a few more grenadiers out here. Bit of jumping up and down and arm waving. Americans are very good at that. Something appears to be happening in the American front, we'll see in a moment. And that's why there was seen something coming, and if you look to your left front, here's our friend the M8 armoured car. Now this is a bit heavy, this should be able to deal with that machine gun okay. He may only have a 50 cal at the top, but he's got that 37mm. He'd have to actually hit it to do any good, but if the thing is, he's heavily enough armoured that he can get close enough and maybe deal with that machine gun. But just in case he can't, he's brought a few friends with him. But as I said earlier, the function of the armoured car is reconnaissance. He's well enough armed to get himself out of trouble, certainly against the machine gun. The commander seems to decide to step down. Maybe he's looking for mines. That wasn't a mine, and that wasn't the machine gun. That was something bigger. That was a 75mm. That was a Hetzer. In a classic anti-tank defensive position, firing from cover.
coming through the trees. Where is he?
Just the role for which the Hetzer was designed. Back it into a hedgerow and wait for the enemy to come to you. This one's come right down his throat. Well, maybe that was a mine.
No, 5 there.
So there we are, half back to the initiative again. Roosevelt's fell off again. 2 half tracks, using their machine guns and deploying infantry behind. The German return fire at the moment. We're to notice quite clear what the American plan is. They can't stay there, but they can stay there. The first half, obviously the Hetzer doesn't feel it's worth firing again. He's not going to race around on a big half track. Half track's no threat to him. It's going to be more interesting. Here comes the tank. This is a target. Now here comes the Stuart. Now, not many anti-tank gun or tank destroyer crews will be able to resist it. It's only a Stuart, but they're not going to resist this. It is much more interesting.
You see him coming out, give us a shout.
Now, here's a bit more firepower. Again, there's nothing that if it can completely destroy the Hetzer. And again, it's only firing solid shots, so there's no effect. No explosive.
Oh no.
Jam or something. And Hetzer 1, Stuart's 0. Oh, well, that's another spot there, Hetzer's still going for a shot. He's got a Stuart, and so Stuart's going to pick it down and then and now it seems to the Americans will couple up. They're all coming behind those sheets. Not very effective against the Hetzer. Nor are machine guns. The Germans are now opening up their tanks on the right. As the Americans start to get bottled down, now they're going to be able to come to the top again. The Germans start moving forward, and the Americans are in trouble. But Stuart's dead. Oh, here we are. Christmas comes to the rescue. It's a rookie corps. Someone's come. It's a wrecking ball. To weapon. Again, the British soldier moving his men forward from the Hampshires. I'm a prisoner for a start.
You're trying to get back.
Counter manoeuvre tactics. One section goes down and fires, the enemy goes down, but the other section advances. This is classic infantry tactics. They're still going into fire from that tree line. That's supposed to be out of it, but they're laying low. Done their job. They've only got armour piercing on board. They're hit on tanks. They haven't got high explosives, so there's no point trying to engage anything else. Maybe they're laying low. Maybe they've got a job. If they haven't, they've got trouble. Here comes the tank destroyer. He knows he's up against the Hudson. Hudson's trying up against Gambler.
There is, the tank.
They're trying to play it out. The tank destroyer on one quarter, the 25 pounder dropping 8 charges to somewhere else. As the Americans now advance on the left in support of their British allies on the right. The Hetzer appears to be out of it. We can see the hatches open. Nowhere else for the Germans to go. There's the survivors coming forward from the tree line. And there's the American sergeant bringing forward. More infantry, or is he bringing forward the tank destroyer? So there we are, that's the situation now. One more field, one more hedgerow. The British now go forward to mop up the Germans. Cease resistance, so that's it. That from the 6th of June to here, from the beaches to here, that's it. So ladies and gentlemen, wrap it up now, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much indeed for the World War.
These men were there 57 years ago, so I'm going to ask you to put your hands together. And our performers will be marching on behind them. Now we're very pleased, of course, to have the men of the Normandy Veterans Association here. Hopefully they gave this event a seal of approval. If you'd like to find out what it was really like now on the beaches, they'll be only too happy to talk to you after this display. These men from the Air Force, the Navy and from the Army, as I said, were there 57 years ago.
Right.
Where are you?
God, it's nice, isn't it?
Mm.
Ready, steady, go. Thank you. I took the side. Oh yeah. Sure. Oh, by the way, with that, I took the front view on the side.
Precious net gets everywhere.
Right into the battle. Throne of England is under dispute. October 1066. Who should wear